I'm just amazed at the musical acts I'm asked to follow in this congregation. But our awesome music program is part of our abundant gifts here at Unitarian Universalist Congregation at Montclair. And I want to start off my remarks today with a quote from a physicist named Paul Zader, who says simply, "There is a natural law of abundance which pervades the entire universe." And as I think about that, and I think about how the only thing that seems to push against that law is notions of scarcity, it feels almost a little funny speaking to you, some of the most generous people I've ever met, about donating to the congregation. Because it seems to me that you embrace what the great Albert Camus once said, that real generosity toward the future lies in giving all to the present. Part of our mission in our work together is to focus on those things that build that better future, things like love and justice and beauty and healing and truth. In this, our temple of transformation, our prayerful house of healing, our mighty mothership of community service, we build lives on trust and on love, and all of those ancestors whose voices we hear in the water, whose voices resound in these walls, ask us, how will we honor the vision that they handed to us? So yes, in case you're wondering, this is what we call the Sermon on the Amount. This is something that many of my minister colleagues dread, do they not? But I'm not one of them. I love Pledge Sunday. That's why I work with the finance team. It's not just that Toast has great crab Benedict, I'm telling you, which they do. We rely, in order to do what we do here, on your donations of time, talent, and treasure, and today we focus on the treasure. And I'm here to tell you we have built a new way to do it. That singing prophet Isaiah teaches about the new ways. He says, forget those things of old, not that there's anything wrong with them, but I'm building a new way, and I will make a way in the wilderness and the rivers in the desert. And this is to remind us that with vision and perseverance and dedication, we can build the congregation we dream of right here. So let's examine how you are building a new way with us, your new co-ministers. Well, first, this year we're placing boundaries around the pledge drive itself. It begins today and it ends in 6 weeks. We promise. Palm Sunday, March 25th, will be the last time we will make any pitches about pledging from the worship service. There are today several special activities after both services, an extended coffee hour, reasons for you to stick around and take time to engage some family-friendly activities and speak to pledge volunteers. But let me talk about how we're building some new ways. One way is committing to fair compensation for staff. In 2014, this congregation voted to compensate staff in accordance with the Unitarian Universalist Association's fair compensation guidelines, and we are on track with a solid pledge this year to finally pay all staff in accordance with those guidelines, and by doing so, we will accomplish it 1 year earlier than your 5-year challenge. This is great work, so thank you for your generosity. The 3 staff members who pay we hope to adjust this year are Office Manager Jacqueline Puleo, She has worked for us for 11 years. Music director Marcus Gray-Hauk, who has the largest pay gap for us to make up. And assistant music director Stearns Matthews, whose hourly pay we will get to where it belongs, as we also hope to get him some more hours. This is holy work. How we spend and how we purchase and how we use our money is holy work. I hear many of you advocating for fairness in our society's economic order. But first, our own economic house must also be in order. And that's why this is part of our vision for this year's budget. Congregational budgets are documents of justice. They are expressions of values. Let me express another new way. We are building a new way with how we maintain and care for these, our beautiful and historic building and grounds. They look beautiful, but they take a lot of work and a lot of maintenance. No longer will we be putting off proactive maintenance on basic operations like servicing our radiators. Raise your hands if you were here January 7th when it was 0 degrees outside. We're not doing that anymore. Time and again, we are going to make sure that we are focused on a proactive maintenance plan, a long-term facilities management blueprint that will look at known improvements that will be needed over time, a better way to maintain what we already have efficiently, and a plan to raise the money to fund it all. We are building a new way around here for how we take care of this place because, among other things, the expectations of religious professionals has changed over time. People come in here with really high expectations, not just of our level of training, our professionalism, but just the way the place looks, the way it is heated, whether the doors are open, who is the staff. People have high expectations. And no longer can your staff focus solely on spiritual matters. I always pray that we are not so heavenly minded that we're no earthly good. And as the complexities around law, regulations, liability continues to increase for religious institutions, being sound and thorough administrators and fundraisers is more important than it has ever been. We are dedicated to providing that service to you and to this institution. Another new way is for us in all of our programming and our outreach to seek and highlight intersectionalities. These are those places where our efforts are amplified because many stakeholders have an opportunity to serve together. For instance, we have a jazz brunch March 18th, and this highlights a lot of intersectional opportunities. Undoing Racism has planned this event, and it features women of color testifying to how they are more likely to be victims of sexual assault. This event, therefore, intersects with all concerned with racial justice and women's freedom in the Me Too movement, and it also offers the menfolk of this institution a chance to show up as strong allies. Intersect. We try to highlight such intersections in worship. This is why our LGBTQ support group, Rainbow UU, lit our chalice today. Think of how our music intersects with everything we address here in worship. It wraps our common efforts in beauty. Worship itself provides ways to embrace and understand how all these things come together. Because worship is the power generator of community. It reminds us of our best selves and prepares us for the week ahead, where our values and programs intersect with the larger community. And here in these walls, just Wednesday night, Reverend Anya and I were blessed with the gift of spending time with our coming of age class. Who's been involved with coming of age ever in this congregation? Please raise your hand. It's a lot of y'all. Talk about intersections. We were exploring with them those intersections of generations, of values, of spiritual development. And someone during the program that we led said, this would be great spiritual development for adults to attend. We are building new ways like this by how we inspire lifelong theological thinking, how we engender ethical imagination and moral courage, how we question the world that we were born into and critique the world as it is operating now, and making sure that we are pushing it somehow more towards the world we know should exist and can exist. This intersectionality better enables a world of love that is shown in service and care, in meal and song, in prayer and deed. And when we come together, what do we find? We find that our power synergizes with our mission. And when we are together in those moments of connection, we find that we shine brighter and we can sustain our witness longer. Let me speak of some other places that folks don't normally consider these places of intersection. Pastoral care. The ministry of presence in times of personal and spiritual crisis offered by our care team. Sometimes in our earnestness, we forget that compassion is often the greatest social justice that we create. By caring for one another, we prove countercultural to our society's myths that somehow one is best when one goes it alone. This cult of individuality is a myth of destruction and death. True, we probably need the right people around us to encourage, reward, and challenge us. But that's why we are here. This is where we find and become the people that can support one another. Pastoral care is social justice of the highest order because we save this world one soul at a time, beginning with our own and next moving to the person closest to us in need right now. And consider how music and pastoral care intersected when our choir went to sing to Lillian Norris in her twilight. When we speak of building a new way, we speak of securing this institution for the future, not just financially, but with its very mission. You will see our mission statement on the cover of your order of service. We are a liberal community dedicated to the transformation of our hearts, our homes, our communities, and our entire world. That's some mighty bold stuff. How are we going to do all that? Well, the answer is one step, one encounter, one relationship, one intersection at a time. I'd like to think of one outcome of serving a mission like this as being able to affirmatively answer this question. If UU Montclair were to disappear tomorrow and sadly have to close its doors forever, would anybody really notice? Would anyone feel less loved and protected? Would anyone outside these walls feel a deep sense of loss? I'm here to tell you that at this moment, the answer to that question is a resounding yes. Think of how we've embraced this congregation's call to promote sanctuary, justice for undocumented immigrants. You voted for this in 2007. And now we are partnered with the Montclair Sanctuary Alliance. Indeed, last Monday we visited Congressman Lance's office while some clergy engaged in civil disobedience to inspire Lance to sponsor a clean vote on the DREAM Act. Intersections. MESH, Montclair Emergency Services for the Homeless. We are known for feeding people once a week here in this facility. We would be missed if we were gone. The Ecumenical Faith Leader Series I attended January 31st was another place where I found out how much we mean to this community. There we engaged with the author of a book titled The Sin of White Supremacy. We learned from brave Christians how they are accounting not just for white supremacy, but for what this contemporary prophet is calling Christian supremacy and how it feeds white supremacy. And we were one of only 2 majority white congregations who had any members present. Reverend Sinclair from Union Baptist was very grateful and knows who we are, and they would miss us if we were not here. And then I think about the shining lights who called this community home for so long. Just last week we held Joe Thomas Berger's memorial service here. A man who marched with Martin Luther King, who went to seminary with him at Crozer, we found out. He was an ordained Baptist minister who led a decades-long youth ministry in Orange, we learned. He was known throughout this county for decades as a man serving the outcast, the downtrodden, the marginalized, a man who sought to break every yoke of oppression that he came across. Yes. And those people who came here to celebrate his life, they knew there must be something special about you because he thought we were worthy of his membership. This is the kind of place we are asking you to be stewards of. And I know that the next generation's shining lights are seated before me today. This is to remind us that in all times, but especially times when our path forward might seem a little murky, that we are called to do the difficult work of discerning what is most important for us to focus our attention upon, to claim what is inviolable, to declare how we will protect and defend one another and the truth that sets everyone free. Many people ask me what they should do in times like these when our values seem threatened. And I simply say to them, do what you have always done. Show up. Discover the truth. Pay attention. Open yourself to new revelation. Share and delight in expressing the beauty you find. Recruit and gather friends for the journey. Support one another along the way when we get dispirited. Train yourself to be a better service. Defend what and who is threatened. Do what you have always done. As at all times, in all ages, we may be asked to put our honor, our fortunes, and our very lives on the line for those things we know are dear and important. And yet it is within that risk where our sparks of love grow, where the lights by which a way can be lit for others is found, beacons by which I can see you all more truly as you are. This is beautifully expressed by none other than Langston Hughes, the awesome Harlem Renaissance poet. He writes, "My people, the night is beautiful. So the faces of my people. The stars are beautiful. So the eyes of my people. Beautiful also is the sun. Beautiful also are the souls of my people." It is humbling to me to realize in what good company I find myself when I am with you. To know that here now there are people like you, called to toil together for the sake of the good, for the sake of the world that we know should be, despite all of the prattle and noise we hear from Washington. To develop a more complete embodiment here of the beloved community. So to accomplish this, we are building a new way. This year's pledge brochure, which you will get after the service when you stop and see our folks at the pledge table, shares a lot of the processes to make this happen. For those who are new, a pledge is an annual commitment of financial resources, and pledging is better for your leadership than simply giving to the plate, because we can build a budget around how much money to expect over the year. Pledges here range from $600 to $18,000 a year. Veterans of this congregation will notice there are no more lines for dues on the pledge form. We still pay dues, but studies show that dividing the numbers up like that is just confusing. So just wrap your dues amount, which is about $120 a person, into your pledge. If you have any questions, just seek me or one of the pledge volunteers out. Another reason we've done that is that the UUA is no longer assessing dues as a per head assessment of membership. They're doing it as a matter of our operating expenses, a 6.75% of our operating expenses. The other thing you should know is that we fund our denomination. They do not give us money. And so everything we spend, we raise. It's important to know that. So put those brochures down if you picked any up, because I want to share with you a little bit about how Reverend Anya and I pledge. Now, I'll preface this with declaring that, Reverend Anya and I currently have no mortgage, no car loan. We also have no children and do not plan on having any, which means we have no college tuition, no violin classes, no cars and insurance for kids turning 16, no tutors, no summer camp. You know all the stuff you have to spend money on with children. We know we are in a financial state of privilege and grace. And Anya and I also, as religious professionals, have devoted our lives to tithing, to giving 10% of our income. And most of that we give to the congregation we serve. So this year, Anya and I are making a financial pledge of $6,000. And again, we understand that not everyone can do that. However, even as we challenge everyone to give as generously as they are able, we also want to make it very clear that we know that those of you without the financial means to give in this way, that you are full-heartedly treasured members of this community. You matter as much to all of us as our biggest givers. So please, I want you to hear that in this message as well. So stick around for today's activities. After the services, making Valentine's Day cards, painting a mural, table talk, and a chance to discuss our financial future with one of our hardworking pledge volunteers. And then I'm going to inspire you to go out to brunch and come back for the 5th annual Montclair Interfaith Music Festival at 4 p.m. Even our music is working to build bridges in the wider community to model the change we seek in the world. So embrace these new ways where we build beloved community by having open, honest conversations about everything that matters, including money. There's nothing wrong with us revering our treasured past. Yet here we trust our dawning future more. Isaiah reminds us not to dwell on the past because new ways always spring forth. And this new way has a hallmark of intersectionality. Seeing how injustices feed off one another, how we can come together to address them. And this inspires us to connect deeply beyond these walls and to take our ministries with us where and when needed. This intersectionality asks us to donate our time, treasure, and talent to our abilities because we stand at a crossroads ripe with opportunity. Here we are building new ways of how we function, how we donate, how we teach our children, how we maintain our building, how we pay our staff, and how we show up for truth and justice. And this is the hallmark of that new way. There is a natural law of abundance which pervades the entire universe. I know that you are generous people, and I personally want to thank you all for all you are and all you do.